FoxBangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a fragile ceasefire deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. We'll have the latest. Plus, Winslow residents will soon get a say in the future of the town's public safety department. And a food pantry in Herman may be forced to close if it can't reach an agreement with the town. We'll tell you all about it. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith has the day off. We thank you for joining us today. We'll have all the day's news coming up in just a few moments, but first a check of the forecast, and it's looking like a fairly nice day ahead today. We'll see some sunshine today. It'll be a partly cloudy day, although you'll notice that the temperatures will be cooling off as we head into the night tonight. For more on what we can expect, let's turn things over to Devin Biggs.
All righty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. All righty, we've had a few flurries developing outside this morning. We can see it on the radar and satellite, and we've had some confirmation over in the Bangor area at times as well. Let's zoom things out. We've had a little bit of snow tracking off from the west and going toward the east. Overall, we will have a few dry days on the way before some rain and snow begins to enter the picture. So overall, a partly to mostly cloudy sky later on today with more clouds on the way later on tonight. As for the winds, those will be rather calm moving forward today and again tonight as we head towards tomorrow, still remaining rather calm moving forward. So for today, we have lower 20s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at about 5 miles per hour. By tonight, 7 degrees under a mostly cloudy sky with the wind overall looking nice and calm. Tomorrow, we have lower 30s, partly cloudy with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing increasing clouds for the afternoon with temperatures warming into the lower 20s and the winds rather quiet as well. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. Well, the Israeli military stepped up attacks on the Gaza Strip after a ceasefire was reached, killing at least 48 people over the past day. This comes amid Wednesday's announcement from the United States and Qatar of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas that was expected to take effect on Sunday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office did not confirm the deal, saying the details are still being worked out. The complex ceasefire accord between Israel and Hamas, which controls Gaza, emerged on Wednesday after months of mediation by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States. 15 months of bloodshed that devastated Gaza and inflamed the Middle East. The deal outlines a 6-week initial ceasefire with a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, where tens of thousands have been killed. Hostages taken by Hamas would be freed in exchange for Palestinian prisoners detained by Israel. At this time, it's not clear whether either party will backtrack on that ceasefire deal. Well, a man was badly injured Wednesday during a crash in Northport. The Waldo County Sheriff's Office says 31-year-old Cody Arsenault was driving a Subaru Outback just past the Belfast line on Atlantic Avenue when the accident happened. Officials say it was around 10:30 yesterday morning when Arsenault got behind a vehicle that had slowed to make a right-hand turn. That's when Arsenault tried to drive around the vehicle and crossed into the opposite lane where he collided head-on with a tractor-trailer truck. He was thrown from the vehicle and was rushed to a hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver of the truck sustained minor injuries and was also brought to a hospital for treatment. The highway remained closed for several hours yesterday after while police investigated that bad crash. A man from Buxton has been arrested for a shooting near a restaurant at the main mall. Police say 21-year-old Jonathan Hansen was one of 2 suspects wanted for a shooting outside a Kobe Steakhouse on December 18th. No one was struck by the gunfire, but one vehicle was hit. Hansen is now being held on $10,000 cash bail. The second suspect has been identified as Nevin Ian. He has not been found. Senator Angus King dug in on multiple topics when President Trump's nominee for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, was in the hot seat at his confirmation hearing. Senator King pressed Hegseth on everything from his past statements about women in the military to his global affairs priorities. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard has more.
Former Fox News host Pete Hegseth faced tough questions from lawmakers on Tuesday, including from Maine Senator Angus King, who began by asking Hegseth about his shifting views on restricting women from combat roles.
You wrote in your book just last year that, but if we're going to, this is the book, War on Warriors, but if we're going to send our boys to fight, and it should be boys, we need to unleash them to win.
The questions then turned to Hegseth's views on the Geneva Convention, which is an international agreement governing rules of warfare. Hegseth has stated publicly that he believes America should not abide by the convention and the restrictions it places on our troops.
Are we going to abide by the Geneva Convention and the prohibitions on torture, or are we not? Is it going to depend on the circumstances?
We fight enemies also, Senator, as our generation understands, that play by no rules. They use civilians as human shields.
Senator King pressed Hegseth on the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, and if Hegseth would continue our country's military support to Ukraine.
I was very disturbed in your opening statement where you talked about the priorities that you have. We will work with our partners and allies to deter aggression in the Indo-Pacific from the Communist Chinese. There's not a single mention in this statement about Ukraine.
We know who the aggressor is. We know who the good guy is. We'd like to see it as advantageous for the Ukrainians as possible, but that war needs to come to an end.
You talk a lot about...
Hegseth will now face a full confirmation vote in the U.S. Senate before he can officially take the role of Secretary of Defense. I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news, 2 years ago, Winslow Town councilors voted to combine its fire and police departments and to form a public safety department. Well, on Monday, the council voted to reverse that decision and separate them once again. But the future of the department isn't written in stone just yet. Our Doug Banks explains.
With a vote of 4-3, the Winslow Town Council decided its public safety department was no longer a viable option for the town. But over 2 years before Monday's vote, the town's council at the time voted to enact a public safety department, merging the administration of Winslow's fire and police departments, with Police Chief Leonard McDade serving as director. According to current council chair Fran Hudson, one of its intentions back then was to save money, approximately $120,000 worth, by not hiring a new fire chief after the retirement of its previous chief.
But since that time, they've hired other positions, a public works foreman, an administrative secretary, 5 different positions in the school department. All of those positions probably add up to well over maybe $400,000.
Hudson, who put the issue of separating the departments on Monday night's agenda, says the move will help them hire and retain personnel for Winslow's police and fire departments. But Town Councilor Lee Trahan was one of the 3 who voted to keep the public safety department intact. Trahan says the department did save the town money, as well as helped to control overtime from climbing and protected the residents of Winslow.
The residents of Winslow saw no decreased services, and they were still receiving a high level of care and response time. And the way I look at it is if we were getting that and we were saving the town money, it was kind of a win-win.
During their next town council meeting here at the Winslow Public Library on February 10th, a public hearing will be held to allow Winslow residents to voice their opinion on the matter. Then it'll go to a vote to decide the future of the town's public safety department. In Winslow, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, when you were in school, do you remember learning how to write in cursive? A new bill in the legislature seeks to reinstate that educational requirement. The bill was submitted by Representative Joseph Underwood, a Republican from Presque Isle, and if passed, would mandate that cursive writing is taught in all Maine elementary schools. He says he was approached by a constituent with the proposal and thought it was a good idea.
Kind of thought about it, and I said, sure, I'll try it. And I think all cursive writing should be taught in schools as a basic, so people can understand our historical documents. Now, most of our historical documents are all written in handwriting, and also usually your grandmother's favorite recipe is probably in handwriting.
Well, the bill will now face a public hearing and work sessions in the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee as it moves ahead in the legislature. My grandmother had wonderful cursive writing. All right, the time now is 6:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, the latest from Herman, where local food pantry may be forced to close unless it can work out a lease agreement with the town. But first, let's take another look at that forecast. It looks like a partly cloudy day ahead with highs around 23 degrees. Mostly cloudy tonight with lows dropping down to around 7 degrees. Real cold night ahead. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs near 30. We'll be right back.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I am in. I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'll be there.
You come alive in the dead of winter and start work early on snow days because snowed in is not an option. The Kubota Snow lineup of compact tractors, RTVs, and versatile attachments are built to move, plow, blow, and thrive in the winter. So when the snow falls, you can rise to meet it. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 84 months, plus save up to $300.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
Frisky's World.
Come on, let's explore.
That's made with real salmon.
Look what I found. Little soups for cats.
There's the delicious taste of tuna we treasure.
Definitely coming back tomorrow.
Friskies, always more to explore.
Put a little more cash in your bank. Save money with half-off deals at foxbangor.com.
A social media celebrity known as the Down East Cowboy is turning Maine into a go-to destination.
I go all over the state of Maine and beyond, just showcasing different things, whether it's the history, whether it's a story, it's an adventure.
We found him exploring Castine. We'll have the story Friday on ABC 7 News at 6.
Welcome back, everyone. Over the past few years, Versant Power has noticed a shift in Maine's climate, and because of that, the power company is working on new grid planning to better adapt for the future. As part of that process, Versant is hosting a series of public discussions with local communities. According to Versant Power's Senior Manager of Communications, Judy Long, the meetings are intended to give insight into the workings of the company and its planning process, while also receiving feedback from community members.
This study is all part of an effort to make sure that as we look to the future, we're evaluating all the solutions and choosing cost-effective ways that we can meet people's future and electricity needs in a good way.
Well, a full list of the meetings and how to RSVP can be found under this story on our website on foxbangor.com. Now, the federal government has withdrawn a call for new protections for North Atlantic right whales. The rule, which was years in the making, would have expanded requirements that large vessels slow down. However, after receiving more than 90,000 public comments, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said it doesn't have enough time to finalize the rule before President Biden leaves office. That's a big concern for environmental organizations that had been fighting for more protections. Since 2020, 16 endangered right whales have been harmed or killed by ship strikes. The new rule would have included ships as small as 35 feet to comply with the new speed requirements. One of Herman's largest food pantries may be forced to close if an agreement can't be reached on a land dispute with the town. Our Alex Schley has the story.
In 2014, the Herman Town Council unanimously agreed to lease an acre of land located at 433 Billings Road to the Neighbors Supporting Neighbors Community Food Pantry for 25 years. However, a lease was never signed. This summer, when the food pantry was forced out of its longtime home on Route 2, the founder, Carol Lack, looked back to her agreement with the town. She first worked to find construction companies that would be willing to do the work for free.
Somebody to provide the rebar, somebody to do all the cement work, somebody to do all the clear, everything. Somebody to build the building, everything free.
Ready to move forward, on November 7th, she went in front of the council.
Nobody asked me any questions. They all looked at me like I was stupid. And I'm like, that's uncomfortable. What's going on? I found out 2 days later that the new town manager secretly sent an email around to all the town council members telling them that I might speak that night and not to ask me any questions or engage with me.
Councilmember Richard Sear confirmed Hermantown manager Stephen Fields did send the email. Fields declined to comment. Fields told us Neighbors Supporting Neighbors did not complete the necessary steps outlined in the 2014 agreement to move forward with the lease. According to Sear, Fields expressed to the council that he was concerned about a radio tower on Herman Mountain that is used by emergency services. With Herman Mountain up for sale, it's unclear if the future owners will honor the agreement. Sear says if the town is forced to relocate the tower, the property at 433 Billings Road could accommodate it. The owner of Herman Mountain, Bill Wickham, says they have never spoken to the new town manager. On Thursday's council meeting agenda listed under new business, quote, consider action to withdraw the prior neighbor supporting neighbors request to use town property. The proposal asked the council to consider not entering into a lease agreement with the pantry. If passed, Lackady says the future of the food pantry will be in jeopardy. In Herman, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, the time now is 6:16. Coming up after the break, the latest on the California wildfires and how fire victims will be helped by the federal government. And President Biden issues a warning to Americans as he delivers his final farewell address. Those stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like the perfect assist.
Hey Google, add basketball hoop to the shopping list.
See why it's been named a Consumer Guide Best Buy for 11 years in a row. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
Now, get a low $289 per month lease on Rogue, one of 6 Nissan vehicles with starting MSRP under $30,000.
Friday nights are for basketball fans. Friday Night Fast Break is your source for everything that is Maine high school basketball. Highlights and local analysis. It's the only show that hits every corner of Maine's hardwood hoop landscape, high school, college, and professional. Join us Friday night during basketball season for Friday Night Fast Break on ABC 7 News at 11. Brought to you by Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer with 30 locations, owned and operated by a Maine family that cares.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the great strength and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
Well, a man and his dog caught in a dangerous situation after they both fall through the ice on a lake. Fire officials in Wellesley, Massachusetts say they got the call on Sunday about a dog named Tommy that fell through the ice at Lake Wobbin in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Is that how you pronounce it? Well, they say the dog's owner tried to save him, but ended up falling through the ice as well. Firefighters sprung into action, pulling the man out of the water first. Once he was safe, they went in and rescued the dog as well. The man was taken to the hospital for treatment. His dog, Tommy, was taken to a local vet to be treated for hypothermia. I believe there was one down in southern Maine just yesterday as well, where some firefighters also rescued a dog from a frozen pond. Well, now to Los Angeles. The winds are finally dying down there, but the legal battles over the historic fire disaster are now ramping up. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert with more.
This morning, more federal aid is headed to the California fire victims who desperately need it.
We never imagined something like this happening, wiping out our entire community.
FEMA says it's received 53,000 applications for its individual assistance program, a one-time payment to cover costs for things like water, food, and infant formula. FEMA also activating a program paying for hotel rooms. And a major insurance company, State Farm, now says it will offer renewals, even to some homeowners it previously planned to drop. Crews are making progress fighting the two biggest fires. The Palisades fire was 21% contained overnight. The Eaton fire up to 45% contained. Many residents are frustrated they're not being allowed back to their neighborhoods. But we saw why. The fire zone is still so dangerous.
We have open gas lines, we have exposed water lines, and so they're evaluating each property to determine if it's safe to enter, even for the companies that are going to be coming to repair those.
Along the Pacific Coast Highway, crews searching the rubble for remains. Today, the family of Evelyn McClendon, who died trying to evacuate from the Eaton fire, is expected to file a wrongful death lawsuit. Her family suing Southern California Edison, claiming the power company failed to turn off utilities despite the high wind warning. Southern California Edison not commenting on the lawsuit, but saying, "Our hearts remain with our communities during the devastating fires."
We are talking to individuals about not just what they saw, but what they smelled and they heard.
The cause of each fire remains under investigation. Authorities say more than 150 leads have been generated from tips. Investigators looking into the Palisades fire have interviewed multiple witnesses. Many elementary school students impacted by the fires are now back in class as other schools around LA welcome them in, each of the kids with a story to tell.
Nightmares of no house and all my stuff being gone. My childhood memories might be gone.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Going to be a very long recovery. All right, the time now is 6:21. Time to get a full look at that weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Let's start off with the wave heights this morning since we have no advisories in effect right now. 1 to 3 foot wave heights are being observed along the coast, and it's a little bit active further out in the ocean at around 8 to 12 feet at this time. So we're definitely quiet in our neck of the woods. Now, water temperatures, obviously, with it being cold outside, water temperatures are rather low in the lower to middle 40s at this time. Now, we've had some flurries developing this morning. The radar kind of shows it, and we've had some confirmation in Bangor of some flurries this morning as well, so no big deal with that. We've had a little bit of snow off toward the west, tracking off to the east, and a little bit to the south and east as well. We will stay rather quiet today with a lot of sunshine, but more clouds will be developing as we head towards the afternoon period. So sunshine to start today. Notice the clouds get going during the afternoon period today. We will remain mostly cloudy later on tonight. As we head towards your Friday, not looking too bad. The clouds break up, although we'll have a little bit more to the north. We'll call it partly cloudy for the day on Friday. By Friday night, some more clouds will begin to enter the picture yet again. So otherwise, we will be watching for another system that will be moving in late Saturday and a parts of Saturday night with rain and snow possible. Warmer temperatures that will be moving in throughout the weekend will allow some of this to fall as rain. Once we head towards Sunday morning, the system will be getting out of here and the clouds will be breaking up as well. Otherwise, we could use the precipitation, some moderate drought across some parts of the state, abnormally dry further off to the north. We're not in growing season. We'll definitely welcome any precipitation that we can get at this point. Average high temperature is 28 degrees. We'll do low 20s today, low 30s for your Friday. We're back in the lower 40s for your Saturday, mid 30s Sunday, and then a cool down Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday back in the teens and 20s. So for today, lower 20s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at about 5 miles per hour. By tonight, 7 degrees, mostly cloudy with the wind overall looking nice and calm. And for tomorrow, we have lower 30s, partly cloudy, and a light and variable wind. All righty, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. So Saturday, a chance for rain and snow late in the day with highs in the low 40s. That will continue into the evening time frame Saturday night. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a slight chance for rain and snow early, highs in the mid 30s, and then low 20s for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, partly cloudy with a slight chance for snow.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Get ideas and inspiration before your next building project even begins at Hammond Lumber Company. Create your vision when you explore Hammond's extensive in-store showroom displays, showcasing innovative trends from industry-leading suppliers and designers. Your Hammond sales rep will help you find the look you like, and Hammond's design team will help you make it your own. And Hammond delivers from 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. For your next building project, find your vision at Hammond Lumber Company.
When I would visit my mother at the nursing home, there were really bad sores on her back, but nobody would tell me what was going on. Why not?
If an incident has occurred at a nursing home that's brought up cause for concern, call the 2s.
right now.
The attorneys at Lowry and Associates helped me get answers. They held the nursing home accountable for what happened to my mother.
If you suspect nursing home abuse or neglect, we're your go-to lawyers.
Welcome to Residential Roofers, your trusted local contractor for over 30 years. From groundwork to roofing, siding, windows, and doors, we've been transforming homes and businesses with premium craftsmanship and materials. We understand the value of your investment. That's why we're committed to your complete satisfaction, whether it's enhancing curb appeal or improving functionality. Ready to bring your vision to life? Call us today for a no-obligation, free estimate at 991-1502. Trust your home to Residential Roofers.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. This morning, a closer look at President Biden's farewell address. Biden addressing the nation one final time from the Oval Office as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to enter the White House. Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the key takeaways.
This morning, President Biden sounding the alarm on the future as he prepares to exit the White House. He used his farewell address to the nation to warn of a rising oligarchy, just as tech billionaires flock to President-elect Trump's side.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
Washington Post associate editor Mary Jordan joined ABC News to spell out what she believes the president hinted at.
He was blunt, unusually clear, and he said that he's really worried about a handful of extremely wealthy people and the power they control.
Biden also touted the long-awaited ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, a deal he says was a top priority before leaving office.
This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed.
The president reflecting on his nearly 50 years of public service, calling it the greatest honor of his life to serve the country.
Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America.
Biden also called for the end of presidential immunity and term limits for Supreme Court justices. And he said it will take time to feel the full impact of what his administration has accomplished. President Biden also wished the incoming administration well as he stressed the importance of a peaceful transition of power. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
We turn now to the Supreme Court and the debate over accessing porn sites. ABC's Andrew Dimpert with that story.
This morning, the Supreme Court signaling it's ready to roll back First Amendment protection for internet pornography. The justices yesterday heard a challenge to a Texas law that would require visitors to porn sites to go through an age verification process to prove they're 18 or older. That process could include a government-issued ID, a facial scan, or commercial verification methods. Critics say the law violates the First Amendment because it unfairly burdens adults' access to protected content. But many of the justices appeared to suggest it's worth the risk to protect kids.
It's very difficult for 15-year-olds, whatever, to get access to the type of things that is available with a push of a button today.
The porn industry argues there are less restrictive options to protect kids, like parental controls and content filtering software. Some justices not buying that argument.
Come on, be real. There's a huge volume of evidence that filtering doesn't work.
I think that the explosion of addiction to online porn has shown that content filtering isn't working.
Supporters of the Texas law also addressed concern that age verification measures threaten privacy and could expose people's personal information to hackers.
One of the important parts of modern age verification technology is that you can do it without identification at all. There's no ID or anything like that. It's just a face scan.
Any decision could have wide-ranging implications. 18 other states have passed similar laws, and an estimated 37% of all internet traffic is for porn sites. Justice Alito, seemingly unaware of that statistic, asking if people log onto the popular website Pornhub for the articles.
Is it like the old Playboy magazine? You have essays there by the modern-day equivalent of Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley Jr.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Well, the president of a key U.S. ally, South Korea, is now spending the night behind bars after his detainment in a high-stakes legal showdown. Fox's Greg Palcott has that story.
The political crisis in South Korea escalated on Wednesday when some 3,000 police officers arrived at the heavily fortified residence of Yoon Suk-yeol and took the impeached president into custody. It all stems from his imposition of martial law last month, which only lasted a few hours but resulted in a major political backlash. Now the president is spending the night at a detention center near Seoul as prosecutors consider bringing charges of insurrection.
Unfortunately, the rule of law in this country has completely collapsed. I cannot help but feel deeply dismayed as I witnessed a court without proper jurisdiction issue arrest warrants.
Yoon says he's cooperating with what he calls an illegal investigation because he doesn't want bloodshed. But police had to scale the walls of his compound in order to arrest him, and he was a no-show at the first day of his impeachment hearing.
Yoon forced the authorities to issue detainment warrants. He's been displaying an extreme attitude of contempt, humiliation, and disregard toward the law.
Meanwhile, the president's supporters and critics have held competing protests near his residence for days. One side claiming he's the victim of a conspiracy, the other calling for him to step down immediately.
The current situation is being used as a way to spread communism in South Korea.
I hope Yoon takes responsibility and faces investigations and helps bring an end to this division.
It's not clear how long Yoon will remain in custody, but under South Korean law, the leader of a rebellion can face the death penalty. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, all the latest from Hollywood in today's Showbiz Report. Good Morning Maine continues right after this.
This intrigued me a little more into the engine side of things. And being able to be hands-on at all times makes it the funnest.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
Ghirardelli Intense Dark. Bold. Rich. Intensely delicious dark chocolate. Ghirardelli Intense Dark. Makes life a bite better.
This year, Versant Power celebrates 100 years of service to customers. The times have changed, but Versant's commitment to providing safe, reliable electricity still holds true. They've helped our communities grow and prosper, powering homes and businesses through the years. Their team is always there when you need them most, in the field and behind the scenes. Then, now, and into the future.
I'm Jim with Lowry & Associates. One of our clients was a man whose family contacted me after he was badly injured in a hit and run. As a former prosecutor, I was able to work with the police and the DA's office to identify the driver and prove that he was drunk when the accident happened. It was that work that allowed us to get him a $500,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Hurt by a drunk driver? Call the twos.
I'm currently enrolled in the power sports program. I've always been interested in four-wheelers. I plan to work in an outboard shop. This program is preparing me for that.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Today is also National Fig Newton Day. All right, time for history. On this day in history, back in 1919, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified by the states. It prohibited the sale, manufacture, and transportation of alcohol, ushering in the age of prohibition. In 1942, actress Carol Lombard was killed in a plane crash near Las Vegas, along with her mother and about 20 other people. They were returning to California from a war bonds promotion tour during World War II. In 1951, the world's largest gas pipeline opened up between Brownville, Texas and New York City. In 1976, Donnie and Marie Osmond's musical variety show premiered on ABC TV. In 1991, the Persian Gulf War began in an effort to forcibly eject Iraqi troops following their invasion of Kuwait. And finally, in 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia took off on what would become its final mission. It disintegrated 16 days later while trying to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. All right, for birthdays today, they include actress Debbie Allen, who is 75 years old today. Model Kate Moss is 51. And actor and playwright Lin-Manuel Miranda turns 45 years old today. Happy birthday to them. If it's your birthday too, we hope you have a wonderful birthday as well. All right, we're going to turn our attention to the weather now. It looks like we'll see some sunshine today, although it's going to be a bit chilly out there. Have to expect it this time of year after all. Here's Devin Diggs with your forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Alrighty, we've had a few flurries developing outside this morning. We can see it on the radar and satellite, and we've had some confirmation over in the Bangor area at times as well. Let's zoom things out. We've had a little bit of snow tracking off from the west and going toward the east. Overall, we will have a few dry days on the way before some rain and snow begins to enter the picture. So overall, a partly to mostly cloudy sky later on today with more clouds on the way later on tonight. As for the winds, those will be rather calm moving forward today and again tonight as we head towards tomorrow, still remaining rather calm moving forward. So for today, we have lower 20s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at about 5 miles per hour. By tonight, 7 degrees under a mostly cloudy sky with the wind overall looking nice and calm. Tomorrow we have lower 30s, partly cloudy with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon periods showing increasing clouds for the afternoon with temperatures warming into the lower 20s and the winds rather quiet as well. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll see you later on. And now for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood, here's ABC's Raina Roy.
This year's Oscar nominees luncheon has been canceled due to the LA wildfires, but the good news is that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has donated $250,000 that it had planned to spend on the event to help those impacted by the fires. That brings the Academy's total contributions to relief efforts to $1 million.
Congratulations to each and every one of you for making it to the Academy Awards and for making it on time.
And by the way, don't believe those reports out of the UK that the Oscars are, quote, on the verge of being canceled for the first time ever. They're not true. The Oscars, hosted by Conan O'Brien, will air on ABC as scheduled March 2nd. Carrie Underwood won't be the only country star singing at President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration festivities. Jason Aldean has also joined the bill, along with Billy Ray Cyrus, Parker McCollum, and Rascal Flatts. The Village People, Gavin DeGraw, and longtime Trump favorites Lee Greenwood and Kid Rock will also perform.
Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton.
And award-winning composer Lin-Manuel Miranda is 45 today, and that's what's happening in Hollywood. Rena Roy, ABC News.
And still to come this morning, Tyler Cruz with all the day's sports news. Don't go away.
At US Cellular, you don't have to choose between a great phone and the right phone plan for you. You can get 4 free phones of your choice and 4 lines for just $90.
That's like us not having to choose between tickets to wrestling or that puppet musical.
Because you get both.
US Cellular, built for us.
I got hurt in a car accident, but I don't want to spend all day dealing with a lawyer.
It only takes a few minutes. It's easier than you think to hire Lowry & Associates.
We can tell you in just a few minutes if you may have a case. And that free call could mean the difference of thousands of dollars for you.
The first call to Lowry & Associates only took a few minutes. And in the end, they settled my case for $450,000.
Hurt in a car accident? I'm your go-to guy.
Talk to 2222.
Poor insulation is the origin of your heating and cooling complications. We are Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We are the local energy saving experts. We identify the problem areas and provide customized solutions that leave your home comfortable and your energy bills affordable. Whether it's a drafty attic or poorly sealed ductwork, we have your back and more. Financing is available. For a no-cost, no-obligation estimate, call Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We fix uncomfortable homes.
Want to test drive U.S. Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free?
Here we go.
Hey, I wonder if U.S. Cellular lets me stream in my... Yep, it's working.
Download the U.S. Cellular Trius app today.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Every day you feel right.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. The 5th-ranked Maine men's hockey team has won 3 in a row heading into this weekend's matchup with UConn, and they've been led by sophomore goaltender Albin Boya. Our Jack Webb has more.
It's fun to hear, obviously, but I mean, it doesn't really change anything, though. You know.
Maine men's hockey netminder Albin Boya is this week's Hockey East goaltender of the week, following his team's road sweep of then number 8 UMass Lowell.
I mean, I think we played great all weekend, both last 2 weekends. We've been playing good as a team, not letting up too many chances, and then I'm there for whatever I can help with. So,
what can Boya help with? I'm sure the Black Bears can think of a few things. How about the second best goals against average in the entire country? That's certainly a start.
Coach, what kind of boost does it give your team knowing that, those grade A chances, they're not just, automatics?
A lot. Yeah, like it calms your team down when you know you have a guy back there that's going to, for the most part, make those saves. Whether it's the goalie pulled or 2-on-1 breakaway, like those type of things. Those are game-changing moments, and really for the whole time he's been here, he's done that.
One of those situations popped up on Saturday night as Lowell scrambled to salvage points from the weekend, firing 15 shots on net in the third period. Boya saved all 15.
I just try to stay in the moment and not focus on anything else. It's the same. My task the whole game is the same anyway, so it doesn't change the last period or whatever if we have a 2-1 lead. I just stick with saving every shot. That's all I can do.
Boya arrived in Orono during the summer of 2023, and soon after, to everyone's surprise, he beat out multi-year goaltender Victor Osman for the starting spot in the second half of last season. His mindset is what's allowed this young goaltender to take the reins of the top-ranked team in the Hockey East and land himself on the Richter Award watch list.
He's, if he gives up a goal in practice, he wants to kill everybody, and that's so. It's not always great, but that kind of that competitive edge that he has is, I think, what drives him.
From Orono, Jack Webb, ABC7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thank you for that, Jack. Puck drops on Friday against number 17 UConn at 7 p.m. at Alfond Arena. Staying on the ice now, make it 2 wins in a row for the Boston Bruins, taking down the Florida Panthers in a rivalry match on Saturday before defeating the Lightning on Tuesday night. And it looks like our guy from UMaine, Jeremy Swayman, has figured some things out. In the past 2 wins for Boston, Swayman has made 83 saves in total, including 43 of those in Tuesday's win. The Bruins also getting a lot of contributions from some of the young guys on the roster. Matthew Poitras broke it open with an assist on Tuesday after being recalled from Providence, and Swayman says that just speaks to the depth that the Bruins have on the roster.
That's a testament to the depth that we have in the back end and the way that every guy steps up in the Bruins jersey, no matter who it is. It's a next man up mentality, and I was really proud of the effort that they gave, and it's been like that all season long. And I'm really happy with all those guys taking initiative to really get a job done tonight and again, having success with it.
Boston is back in action in Ottawa on Saturday at 3 p.m. Let's get to the high school scene now. We'll get on the hardwood for a Class B boys matchup at the Cross Center. MDI boys coming to Bangor to take on the Crusaders from John Baptist. Trojans with it in the first. Cal Hodgdon gets it here on the wing, and he's going to swing it down to James Witham in the corner. Catch and shoot 3 from the corner, and Witham buries it. Here come the Crusaders now. Zach Babcock has it. He's driving. He kicks it to Elmer Robichaud in the corner. Elmer's catch and shoot 3 sticks. It was back and forth early on. Here come the Crusaders again. Robichaud again drives into the lane, stops, pops, and buries that mid-range jumper from the elbow. Here comes MDI, though, second quarter with him driving, sends it over to Dylan Stoll. His catch-and-shoot 3 hits nothing but net. Trojans trail at the half, but win it 48-39. Back to the ice now, and at Penobscot Ice Arena, Pioneers hosting the Brunswick Dragons. First period, Brunswick on a 5-on-3 advantage. They send the puck in front of the net, but Abby DeRozier is there to stop the Dragons and keep the game scoreless. A little bit later, Alicia Palmer has it. She rips one on net, and that one gets through to give the Dragons a 1-0 lead off the stick of their senior captain. To the second period now, Palmer has it again, and she's looking to make it 2-0 here after the steal. She's alone and fires, but DeRozier again is there for the save. Here come the Pioneers now. They throw this one on net. It bounces out to Jordan Williams. She fires off the rebound, and she scores. Back and forth battle at PIA, but the Dragons win it 4-3 is the final. Great game there. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Come stop by Triple S Tack Shop, 315 Hamden Road, Carmel, for quality clothing and equestrian gear.
After an accident, the insurance company often wants to rush you into accepting their fair offer. Don't sign away your rights.
I didn't trust the insurance company.
They were wanting to settle fast and cheap.
How much is your case worth? It's probably worth more than you've been told.
I called Joe.
I found out what my case was really worth.
Say yes to maximum compensation, to everything you deserve. Call the firm that has been getting justice for Mainers for 50 years.
Tell them you mean business.
Orno Arcade has expanded, and we have dozens of new games to play. We have prize machines, including an entire section dedicated to your favorite modern games. We have games from the 80s and games from the 90s. Plus, we have the largest selection of indie arcade games in the country, along with 9-hole blacklight mini golf. We also have a brand new birthday party room. Hey, we have it all. Come on up to Orno and experience one of the most unique family entertainment centers in Maine.
The organization Feed the Children is committed to supporting the children and families of California alongside community partners in Arizona with donations to help deliver hope through times of disaster. Fox's Danielle Miller has more.
We believe in action over observation. So that's why we're calling out all of those that are interested in being a part of this and making a difference.
Bernard White with Feed the Children in Chandler is up bright and early preparing the warehouse for the rounds of volunteers coming to pack emergency boxes. All of these boxes going to California to support the victims of the wildfires.
So our green boxes are where we focus on our food. So we have about 30 pounds of food resources in there, an assortment of various non-perishable goods. And our blue boxes are our hygiene resources. And so our hygiene resources are filled with like soap and toothpaste, shampoo, etc. So just to make sure that we meet those needs.
They're also sending dignity boxes, which contain small gifts and messages of hope. Feed the Children is hoping to maximize the immediate impact. The organization will be sending several truckloads of the supplies over the next few days. It's coordinating with its community partners in California who will distribute the goods to those in need.
And our community partners, they're on the ground. So the way I look at it is we're the arms and legs for the hands and feet that are on the ground. So that's why we're focusing on making sure we get as many people in here as possible in order to make the biggest impact.
Volunteer shifts are available on Wednesday and Friday to sort and assemble boxes. We have a link on our website, fox10phoenix.com, with more information. Danielle Miller, Fox News.
Well, meanwhile, the FDA trying out a new tactic to make tobacco products less addictive. The agency announcing a proposed rule that would force tobacco companies to lower nicotine levels in some products. The rule would affect cigarettes, cigarette tobacco, most cigars, and roll your own tobacco to 0.7 milligrams per gram of tobacco. The amount would be low enough to potentially prevent addiction. The limits would not apply to vaping products, nicotine pouches such as hookahs, Zyn, or premium cigars. The reduction was first proposed during President-elect Donald Trump's first administration. The FDA says the rule aims to prevent underage smoking and redirect adult smokers to lower-risk alternatives. The FDA is banning the use of red dye number 3 in food and beverages, and ingested drugs as well. The synthetic dye made from petroleum is currently used in thousands of foods to give them a bright red color. This ban comes more than 3 decades after scientists linked the dye to cancer in animals. Some advocacy groups also believe the dye can impact a child's behavior as well. Food manufacturers have until January 2027 to reformulate their products. For drug makers, the deadline is a year later. Red 3 was banned in cosmetics by the FDA 35 years ago, with countries like Australia, New Zealand, and the European Union banning it in foods decades ago. We're finally catching up. The use of the dye Red 40 in foods, which has also been linked to cancer in animals, is still permitted by the FDA. Be careful what you're eating out there. All right, time for a final look at that forecast with Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Let's start off with the wave heights this morning since we have no advisories in effect right now. 1 to 3 foot wave heights are being observed along the coast, and it's a little bit active further out in the ocean at around 8 to 12 feet at this time. So we're definitely quiet in our neck of the woods. Now, water temperatures, obviously, with it being cold outside, water temperatures are rather low in the lower to middle 40s at this time. Now, we've had some flurries developing this morning. The radar kind of shows it, and we've had some confirmation in Bangor of some flurries this morning as well, so no big deal with that. We've had a little bit of snow off toward the west, tracking off to the east, and a little bit to the south and east as well. We will stay rather quiet today with a lot of sunshine, but more clouds will be developing as we head towards the afternoon period. So sunshine to start today. Notice the clouds get going during the afternoon period today. We will remain mostly cloudy later on tonight. As we head towards your Friday, not looking too bad. The clouds break up, although we'll have a little bit more to the north. We'll call it partly cloudy for the day on Friday. By Friday night, some more clouds will begin to enter the picture yet again. So otherwise, we will be watching for another system that will be moving in late Saturday and a parts of Saturday night with rain and snow possible. Warmer temperatures that will be moving in throughout the weekend will allow some of this to fall as rain. Once we head towards Sunday morning, the system will be getting out of here and the clouds will be breaking up as well. Otherwise, we could use the precipitation, still moderate drought across some parts of the state, abnormally dry further off to the north. We're not in growing season. We'll definitely welcome any precipitation that we can get at this point. Average high temperature is 28 degrees. We'll do low 20s today, low 30s for your Friday. We're back in the lower 40s for your Saturday, mid 30s Sunday, and then a cool down Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday back in the teens and 20s. So for today, lower 20s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at about 5 miles per hour. By tonight, 7 degrees, mostly cloudy with the wind overall looking nice and calm. And for tomorrow, we have lower 30s, partly cloudy, and a light and variable wind. Alrighty, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. So Saturday, a chance for rain and snow late in the day with highs in the low 40s. That will continue into the evening time frame Saturday night. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a slight chance for rain and snow early. Highs in the mid 30s. And then low 20s for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Partly cloudy with a slight chance for snow.
Let Hellman's Bakery put a smile on your face with their tasty offerings of breads, baked beans, lasagna, tuche and turkey pies, fruit and cream pies, wedding and specialty cakes, pastries, and more. Hellman's, your hometown bakery, Fairfield.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With 25 years experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Caswell's Grocery Liquidation, where you shop first. Shop local. Great savings and selection. It's worth the trip. You won't be disappointed.
Your dollar goes a long, 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 long way at Caswell.
Laundry call. Let's dig deep, people.
When dirt and stink lingers deep, clean deep with new Arm & Hammer Deep Clean Detergent. With micro scrubbers that penetrate deep into fibers, it's our most powerful clean yet. Arm & Hammer Deep Clean. More power to you.
When it's time to replace your windows or doors, get the benefits of over 75 years of experience in building product sales and service from Hammond Lumber Company. In-store showroom displays with the latest design trends from top manufacturers. Knowledgeable, fully trained salespeople and in-house design services. A team of certified techs providing service after the sale, and job site delivery from 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. When it's time for new windows and doors, it's time to bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
It's a killer reveal party.
Why am I holding this knife?
Here we go. Who did it?
Don't blame the player, blame the game, bruh.
Don't do that.
Only Murders broadcast finale, ABC tonight.
An elderly couple in California celebrates their 82nd wedding anniversary the Disney way. The lovely couple dressed up as Cinderella and her Prince Charming for that special occasion. Elton and Betty Denner have been married since 1942, before Elton had to leave to serve during World War II. After living together for 8 decades and raising their family, it was their kids and grandchildren who organized the 4-day Disney-themed surprise for the pair to celebrate as they can no longer attend the park themselves. Elton and Betty say the key for a loving relationship is patience. The famed Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, draws in a record number of patrons a month after reopening. The church was nearly destroyed in a fire 5 years ago. Since reopening its doors on December 7th, the cathedral says 800,000 people have come to see the renovated church. There has been an average of 30,000 people a day, which is similar to the number of visitors of the iconic Louvre Museum. A stroll through Notre Dame is free of charge, but the cathedral advises guests to book their visits in advance. And 2024 was the year of music, with streams hitting the trillions, and women led the movement. The 2024 year-end report by Luminates says the global music industry tallied 4.8 trillion streams. That is a new single-year record and a 14% jump over 2023. In the U.S. alone, on-demand audio streams totaled 1.4 trillion. Female pop stars like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, and Chappelle Roan led the way, garnering more than 20 billion streams in the U.S. Luminance data also revealed that in 2024, the fastest growing streaming genre was Latin music, up by 15% from the summer of 2023. Very interesting. People love their music. Well, that will do it for this hour. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. We'll continue broadcasting on Fox 22 with all the latest news. But if you're heading out for the day, we hope you have a wonderful day.
This intrigued me a little more into the engine side of things. And being able to be hands-on at all times makes it the funnest.
I'm Jim with Lowry & Associates. A husband and wife called me after they were hit by a drunk driver. They were both seriously injured, they couldn't work, and they were worried about their medical bills. We put 2 former prosecutors on the case and got them the justice they deserved. A $400,000 settlement they were able to use for their retirement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Hurt by a drunk driver? Call the twos.
You come alive in the dead of winter and start work early on snow days, because snowed in is not an option. The Kubota Snow lineup of compact tractors, RTVs, and versatile attachments are built to move, plow, blow, and thrive in the winter. So when the snow falls, you could rise to meet it. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 84 months, plus save up to $300.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
I joined the Maine Army National Guard because I wanted to help the people of my community. But I never knew how far that would take me. I'm here from my hometown and I'm furthering my education. My part-time service is helping me do both. Join the team that can help you take charge of your future, just like I did with the Maine Army National Guard. Go to nationalguard.com/ME to learn more.
Being able to take care of myself in the wilderness, you really get the full experience of what your future might look like.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. The breakthrough in the Middle East, some relief for Southern.
Live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Coming up on Good Morning Maine, a fragile ceasefire deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. Plus, Winslow residents will soon get a say in the future of the town's public safety department. And a food pantry in Herman may be forced to close if it can't reach an agreement with the town. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith has the day off. We thank you for joining us. We're going to kick things off like we do every day with a check of that forecast. Not a bad day ahead today. It looks like we'll see some sunshine today as we head through the day, although things will be down in the 20s, a bit chilly out there, but we have to expect it. It is January after all. For more on what we can expect, let's turn things over to Devin Biggs.
All righty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought